Hey, this is Brother Rob Wilson. Thanks for joining the show tonight. What the? Have you ever wondered, what am I experiencing? What am I going through? Where did this come from? Maybe in yourself, maybe in another person. Well, tonight's video teaching is going to be about the dysfunctional or narcissistic community system. This can be a community system in a family of origin, in a club, in a workplace, in a political system, anywhere where you have community and you have one central figure who operates the show in a certain type of way. A lot of times that helps us realize what role we played in a childhood environment that we may still be actively or passively playing out in the present day circumstances. It also will help us frame and understand where someone else is coming from. The root the fruit is revealed by the root. So thanks for tuning in tonight. Please stay for the show. Like, subscribe, and comment. We often don't understand what the root cause of certain present day issues are until we look behind the scenes. Sometimes we face emotional triggers, mental triggers, spiritual triggers, and we have to investigate the origins and the information that may be present in our subconscious from things we've experienced in the past that we have not examined and that we are not aware of. This is called complex post traumatic stress disorder. When we have inappropriate, over the top reactions to present day circumstances beyond what is warranted by events that we are going through, that is often caused not by what happens now, but by what happened in the past. And it could be the product of a narcissistic environment that we've been in, either personally, in our personal life, family of origin, in a work life, in a professional life, possibly in a church environment. We've been exposed to complex PTSD. So we're going to go over the roles and the players on the narcissistic family of origin system, but these origins and these players will play out in the lives of all other areas of narcissistic involvement. Many times, the conflicts that we see before us today, be it with our spouse or significant other, in our workplace, in our religious community, in a local group or club, they have triggers that aren't related to the present circumstance. There's a blueprint of dysfunction that has embedded itself in many people's lives. And we're going to discover the roots of this dysfunction and what's pulling the trauma triggers today and the roots of the origin of this dysfunction. These roles in this blueprint can be set up in any community environment. Getting some alerts on my computer. Well, I wanted to go over with you tonight. I'm just going to read it as I'm preparing a video. And I know this information kind of by heart, unfortunately, sadly. Um, I want to go over with you tonight the roles of the narcissistic family system. And this is off of, I'm just going to read some stuff off of Psychology Today, okay? The, the narcissistic family roles. You could call this almost like a cast of characters because essentially what this system does, the narcissistic system does, and it doesn't matter. We have these in nuclear families. We can also have these in clubs, in religious institutions, in workplaces, in any type of cultish type environment where the goal is to have control and power around one central figure or one central ideology. Let me check my camera because I'm monitoring my camera remotely. So, trying to get some better technology. different technology, just trying new things. Basically, what you have is a cast of characters. You don't have, no one is allowed to be themselves. They all have to co-sign on the lessons and the agenda of the narcissist. So you're in an environment of rejection, abandonment, and invalidation. And to stay in this toxic, it's a toxic system, whether it be a nuclear family of origin, or it be a religious institution, or your political extremism. The political extremism has basically become two narcissistic parties, where because in a narcissistic system there's a scapegoat. Well, let's go over that. The narcissistic family can be understood as a play with a cast of characters that serve the lead actor, who is the narcissist. The demanding and reactive narcissist. This could be parental. This could be party leader. This could be totalitarian club or cult leader, or in an environment, even in a religious environment, where you have totalitarianism and top down uh, leadership by domination and intimidation and manipulation. You could have a narcissistic religious leader. Um, Usually, a parent, narcissist, most basic need is to protect themselves from an unresolved and destabilized sense of inadequacy established in early childhood, which they attempt to do by adopting a grandiose persona with which to be overtly or covertly expressed. Narcissistic families, this is just dealing with the family, but you can see this personality that inhabits a person work its way into a workplace. I mean, a narcissist who's a narcissist at home is most often going to, once they get in a position of power and authority, they're going to be narcissistic in that position of power or authority. Um, Overtly or covertly expressed. Okay, if they don't have the position of power, they'll be covert until they can do a grab for power grab. A narcissistic family has an uncanny similarity and patterns from one to the next, but the patterns, there's a similarity, even though it's almost like there's a playbook and they've read it, what the cast of characters are. But even this is why this is really a spiritual problem, because this is something internal and ingrained in a system, and it's passed down from one generation to the other. This is why this is essentially a generational curse, and it's a generational curse that infects all systems right now. But they are so similar from one to the next with small deviations. The actors playing pretty much the same role. If visible to the outside world, the performance would appear to be a tragically sick and cruel farce. When you see this, when you are enlightened and you see what's really happening, it's sad, and to the family members burdened with their roles, often since birth, the act is extremely painful. It's an extremely painful normal. So the centerpiece in the narcissistic family is the narcissist, and it's usually a parent or both parents, but maybe a child or sibling. You could have enabling and codependent parents that are enabling a narcissistic sibling rivalry, or they're the cause of it. Um, the narcissist is the family tyrant who everyone else revolves around, trying to avoid their criticism, their conflict, or their outright attacks. They also may be there also may be a hive of narcissists, such as grandparents or relatives, that support this person's domineering, intimidating, and manipulative behavior. They all co-sign on each other's mess. They'll call in a group of narcissists. This is called communal narcissism. A person with narcissistic personality disorder experiences disrupted attachment with caregivers early in life that impede healthy emotional development. The child is unable to establish a secure sense of identity, resilient self esteem, or an empathetic connection with others. They've been mistreated. They've been extremely traumatized, yes, but they will extremely traumatize anyone in this hive of narcissistic toxicity. Um, they have not received empathy or connection from others. It has made them, him or her, emotionally unstable, self focused, delusional, demanding, and often stunningly callous and cruel. The narcissist is extremely callous and cruel. As parents, narcissists invert the parent child dynamic by putting their needs before those of the children. They may be neglectful, they could be engulfing, which means consuming, that the child is required to co sign on every belief and every attitude and every opinion and every like and every dislike of the narcissist. They expect their children to dislike what they dislike and to like. They're not allowed to have a personality. That's what happens in engulfment. They're not allowed to have their own identity. They belong to a cult. It's a cultish type of, you're not allowed to have a self other than the group. Engulfing, exploitive. Okay, so they exploit their children for their own to meet their needs, and they're not meeting their children's emotional and mental needs. And it could be outright and total physical abuse. So after and outside the narcissist, next is an enabler or a codependent individual. The primary enabler is usually a spouse, but maybe another parent or child. Okay, so the narcissist structure is all about power and control and domination. So the narcissistic person will be the person who draws dividing lines in families, and it could be mama and her favorite child and youngest daughter, and yet the son or the daughter and the father and the middle child. And the narcissistic, either one that's narcissistic will get a party and a clique on their side. If they can't get everyone, they'll get whoever they can. They draw lines of division. So if the primary enabler allows them to continue, and everybody has to be an enabler in this system. Everyone is enabling this system, essentially. So because if you don't enable, you get abused, you get shouted down, you get cussed out, you get ghosted, you get treated like you're not there, you get stonewalled. But it's usually a weak. If the husband is narcissistic, it's a weak mother who it just gets wore out because the narcissist's primary victory method is to wear you out. Um, So, and if the woman is the enabler, she's just wore out trying to fight with him, and maybe he's scary, if the woman is the narcissistic partner, then it's a man who allows abuse. It's a man who allows the perversion of roles, the perversion of adult child roles. The one who allows his wife to have expectations of the children to be her caregiver or her surrogate spouse when she's mad at him. Okay, so this is what the enabler and the codependent person does, and essentially, everyone who is um, afraid, everyone who's terrified, everyone who's had enough and too much, and begins to tolerate this becomes an enabler. Now, another the other than the primary enabler, usually a spouse or other parent, could be an aunts and uncles who come around and beef up the cred of the narcissistic parent. Okay, anywhere where you are being ruled by complete domination and control, complete totalitarianism and authority, and it doesn't have to be. Uh, it can be it can be covert. It can be, well, you're a Johnson, and you got to be loyal to the Johnson family. Could be they could be manipulating you if it's not outright power and authority by manipulation and guilting and shaming, guilt, shame, and fear. Then you have all types of flying monkeys, often one or more of the children that revolve around the narcissist and do their bidding. They're called flying monkeys, but they're basically, and in the Bible, they would be called the eunuchs that Jezebel had around her, the sexless, neither male nor female orbiters who orbit around the narcissist to give them a sense of supply. And what happens here is they perpetuate the narcissist abuse on the targeted victims. So they may jump in and co-sign on the verbal abuse, on the cutting someone down, on the when the narcissist wants to ghost somebody or put somebody in the outer circle, put somebody in purgatory, they also put them in purgatory. If the narcissist is given one of the siblings the silent treatment to teach them a lesson, this is what a parent does to their own kids, then the other kids are expected to also give the silent treatment. Or if the spouse is narcissistic and wants to cut off communication with the other spouse, the children go along with that narcissistic parent. That's that's a crony, basically a crony. You can't have your own identity. What do they? I'll think of that word later. Um, but the term flying monkeys, and this is used in professional in the professional psychological world. It comes from the movie The Wizard of Oz, of course, where the Wicked Witch of the West had flying monkeys, and they assist the narcissist dirty work, carry out the abuse by proxy, and they most manipulate members of the family to become other flying monkeys who may be narcissistic themselves. Usually in the if this is in a work environment, it's all the cronies who go around doing the boss's dirty work, who go around alienating the worker that the boss wants to abuse or marginalize. If this is a religious environment, there's the people who go around and say there's something going on and there's a problem. They go around saying there's not a problem, and then they go around alerting the narcissist if you bring the problem up, and then you're going to get alienated. You could get de-churched. You could get defellowshipped. Anything. This is what the a flying monkey is, not just in the family of origin. This is anywhere a narcissist sets up their regime of terror. Okay, so also in the system, this is family of origin, and this is why you see this in the workplace, is because somebody's brought this from their home life into your work life. This is why you see this anywhere a narcissist goes that they can get positions of power. They set up this tyranny. There's also a golden child, so there's a pet. There's a teacher's pet type thing at school. The teacher's pet, you know how they get treated. And that's allegedly to motivate the others to be as the pet is. This is the ideal child. It can be the oldest. It could be the youngest. It doesn't. It could be if the narcissistic parent is a woman. It could be a favored daughter. Yet the sons get abused and neglected because of how the narcissism works. If the husband is a narcissist, it could be a really shows good for the narcissist. Whatever the narcissist trigger that needs to be tripped is, that's the person who's going to be the golden child. If the narcissist trigger is tripped and they're getting fuel and they're getting supply from the most intellectual student, hey, it'll be the A student, And if you don't get an A, you are an outcast. You are scapegoated. But the golden child is the teacher's pet of the family or the workplace. The favorite bestowed with special status. The narcissist projects projects what he or she wants to believe about him or herself onto that child and engulfs the child's identity. And this is how the narcissistic leader will engulf the identity, and you'll see leaders start to look like one another, start to morph into each other, because people do this. It's called mirror neurons. Make weak-willed people want to look, act, speak, and talk like that other person to gain status. Okay, um, and oftentimes wait a minute. So they mirror and they project their imaginary self onto the golden child. Rules and uh, the roles and the rules in the narcissistic family are fluid and changeable, and the narcissist parent may reassign the part of the golden child to another if it suits his or her shifting moods and the motives of family circumstance change. So the golden child can become a different person. Then there's the scapegoat, and the scapegoat is the targeted child, or it could be a targeted spouse. And one spouse scapegoats the other spouse and then turns all the children into flying monkeys to ostracize and alienate and bully and intimidate their spouse. It doesn't have to be a child, but the targeted scapegoat functions as a projection screen for the narcissist's self hatred, rage, and disappointments of life. Blamed for all the family's problems, this child is fair game for abuse from flying monkeys. Also, oftentimes the scapegoat is different from the family culture in some way. Maybe they're more kind, maybe they're more sensitive, maybe they're more empathetic. And what's highly valued in the narcissistic family is a lack of empathy. A cruelty might be valued. So the child will be maybe the strongest, the most aware. Often, if you are aware and the narcissist can sense that you see that this is a foul, weird system, that if you're the truth teller, you're going to become the scapegoat. So this may be the oldest and the strongest child. It'll be the strongest willed child, maybe. You're opposing the narcissist. You're willing to stand up for yourself. You try to stand up for your siblings. You try to stand up for your dad or your mom. And they stand up to the narcissist in defense of others. Unlike the golden child, the scapegoat is least invested in upholding the family system because he or she recognizes the injustice and benefits least from it. And even if they don't want to benefit, the scapegoat is the one who says, I don't care if this costs me. I'm not going to co-sign on what you're saying and doing to others. You will be hated by the narcissist, and the narcissist will reward your siblings for treating you dirty. Ooh, that's ugly. It's ugly. It's sad and ugly. Okay, just some terms. I'm running out of time here. I want to keep this kind of short. The gaslighting. That's when a narcissist and their cronies will cause you to doubt your reality, to doubt what's really happening. Hoovering is the narcissist puts you on the outer edges, or you have departed from the narcissistic family of origin, or the broken off relationship with a narcissistic parent or narcissistic spouse. And the hoovering process is the way they try to re-engage the love bombing, devaluing, and discard. They want to the love bombing begins again to try to get you back into the system. Narcissistic rage, that's when out of control, when a narcissist feels like they've lost control and power, when they feel like you're not one of their cronies, or when they feel narcissistic injury. Narcissistic injury can come from you saying, "Hey, I don't want you yelling at me." They are narcissistically wounded when you set boundaries. Um, Narcissistic supply. The rage comes from narcissistic injury. A narcissistic supply, um, it's a parasitical type of supply. Most people, healthy people, they feel supply when others are happy, or feel supply when others are loving, or they feel good and get fuel from well-being. That's what a healthy person is fueled by. Narcissistic supply doesn't have to be good. They feel validated, they feel empowered, they feel in control if they can provoke rage and anger out of you. That's why oftentimes they pick at you to the point that when you get angry, they calm down because I got you. That's what they're saying inside. I got you. I exerted power over you. See, I have control over you. So narcissistic supply is the way that they use to get the substance, demanding continuous attention, demanding continuous agreement, adoration. Anyone in the narcissistic supply matrix. You're caught in a matrix. You're caught in a web when you're caught in this system that they can get the supply from. It could be a spouse, a partner, child, relative, employee, student, or friend is a potential source of supply. Without others to manipulate and draw validation from, the narcissist is on an empty tank. They can't make it on their own. Projection. That is when the narcissist places the values, the attributes, and the characteristics of themselves onto you, like a projection screen. Um, when a narcissist is cheating on you, they'll accuse you of cheating. When they're lying to you, this is one of the most deceptive spirits that there is, the narcissistic spirit, the Jezebel spirit. They lie pathologically. They'll accuse you of being a liar. And you're like, that's where gaslighting comes in. It is a confused state. It causes you cognitive dissonance. Look, when someone begins to describe you in a way that you know does not describe you, no one else you know knows the person they're describing. Guess who they're describing? They're describing themselves. Anyway, all of these people, all of the participants in the system are in need of recovery, usually for the scapegoat. That's a person who grows up to be a very highly critical person, a person who's a people pleaser, a person who can't say no to others, a person who doesn't set healthy boundaries, a person who allows themselves to then go into abusive relationship. Usually for the flying monkeys, they go into systems and operate as yes men in whatever system they get attached to. The golden child is the one who, and from this system, a narcissistic system creates narcissists. Okay, but sometimes it doesn't create a narcissistic personality disorder. It just creates victims because the narcissist themselves has been a victim um, of a narcissistic family. Okay, but mainly produce wounded empaths and other narcissists. And the golden child is usually the one that grows up being the most manipulative, the most domineering, the most intimidating, the most turned loose on society with a grandiose over. They grow up to be the embodiment of that parent that treated them like the golden child. There's two ways that narcissists are formed: overindulgence, you know, over pouring into someone, overindulgence for illegitimate reasons, or an overindulgence of one aspect of personality or performance, but an elimination, no indulgence, no emotional indulgence, no emotional awareness, no emotional intelligence. In other words, they value virtues like being athletic, superior A+ grades, all the things that are external and nothing that is internal. And the golden child who, for whatever reason, they're they become performance driven. They become appearance driven because they've learned to be a character in the play of someone else. And that they may grow up, may be very high performing in whatever they end up doing, but there is always a sense that they're not doing it for themselves because they've learned to get narcissistic supply or to get those strokes. They've never learned to get them from just relational aspects of life, or they've never they've never they've never felt like there was an unconditional love, whether you performed or didn't perform. There's no awareness of grace in this place. All right, I'm not gonna hold this up any longer, and I'm gonna prep this video. I hope it ends up looking good, appearing wise, because it's the first time I've shot in this form with remote control and everything. So this is Brother Rob Wilson, the channel manager of the Love Agenda. And basically what I just described is a system devoid of love. There's no empathy in this system. People are all characters. And if you don't perform on character as the narcissist describes it, you're in trouble. You're going to be, and you can be canceled. This is the epitome of cancel culture. You can go from being one of the flying monkeys to being the scapegoat, to being put on the outer edges of the universe. I mean, you get so, there's a high level of discard in this system. You know, if you don't measure up, if you make the narcissist mad, the narcissist throws you away. You know, the narcissist will love bomb their own children when their children meet their narcissistic supply. And then they'll begin to, you know, get bored with their own children and devalue them and discard them, move on to something else that makes them feel better than their own children, their own spouses. They're unpathologically unsatiable and unhappy. All right? They're not like, they're nothing, this is nothing like Christ. But if you have the things that you may be experiencing now may be triggered from this type of environment. You know, these are trauma triggers. Narcissistic abuse creates complex CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. In other words, somebody can hit a button now in such a light and microscopic way, but it reminds you, and it's your trauma trigger to what someone else did. And until you investigate what role did you play, if you played a role in a system like this and you are walking around subconsciously and suppressing the memories of what you've been through, the reason why some people are doing some small thing and you overreact could be hooked back into what narcissistic abuse that you have come from or that you're still in, you know, in the workplace. And this can get you really defensive, really live in anxiety all the time, stressed out all the time, and it'll literally change your personality. You will not know who you are if you get in a relationship with a narcissist, because they want to wipe you out and reprogram you. This is almost like being a prisoner of war and getting brainwashed. They want to brainwash you into operating in their way that they want you to operate. Peace and love. This is the truth. But the truth, no matter how much it hurts, will set you free. Amen. This is Brother Rob Wilson. I want to give you the information that will help you recover from narcissistic abuse. Please post a comment with anything, any material you would like to see in the future. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button. Post some comments. That helps in the algorithm. We're almost at 100 subscribers. Looking forward to the next journey, the next milestone of getting to 1,000 subscribers. Looking forward to the great new journey of improving your life and recovery from narcissistic abuse and have an abundant life together.